Hi, this is Monster Restorer 91, and today we're gonna do a water pump replacement and a fan clutch replacement on a 2005 Dodge Durango 5.7 liter. Okay, this is a water pump, and this is a gasket. It comes with a gasket when you buy it. It must come all completely. This is a fan clutch, and you're gonna need some set of sockets, 3/8 and plus extension. And to get more leverage, you might need one of these to get leverage, and a flat screwdriver, and one of the Crowfoot 36 millimeter, 1/2 inch drive with a breaker bar, and a fan clutch removal tool. You could get this on eBay for $30. It's hard steel, so it's good to use it. And brake cleaner to clean the gasket with the box cutter knife, and a recovery tank from the antifreeze when you drain it. Okay, to make room so you could access the fan clutch, you must remove all this, the air cabin filter. You need a 13 millimeter socket. You could pop this one out. Also remove the negative cable from the truck for safety reasons, safety precautions. And you could pop this one out. It just pops. It has like a clip in here. You just pop it out. And also remove this. With a flat screwdriver. So just loosen these two bolts, 13 millimeter, and it should come right off. So now I already loosened the 13 millimeter bolts, and you have to pop it out until it pops out like that. Just remove it. There should be enough space right here. I don't think it will bother you. So now it's time to loosen the fan with the clutch, the fan clutch. Okay, now I'm gonna use the fan clutch remover tool. Make sure it fits in the holes inside the fan clutch. You just put it like this and screw it in. Then you put these rings and screw these ones in so they won't move. Make sure to tighten it very well. Yeah, I'm using a plier to tighten it a little bit more. And that should be it. You don't want to scrape it so it's solid. And this thing could move, so you could reach the holes through the fan clutch, so you could hold it in place. You will need a 36 millimeter Crowfoot. You can also find it on eBay. It's just put it right here on the breaker bar, so you could loosen the nut. Loosen it like that on the fan clutch. Okay, now I ended up putting this tool, since I was struggling, I didn't end up using these nuts. So before you put this tool, make sure somebody holds it on the top, and then you guide the pins, because there's no way that you're gonna end up lighting it up because they're too long. So make sure you line up the pins first, and then you screw them. Try to adjust the tool, and then you start screwing them in so they could line up on the holes. Right now it won't be moving no more. It shouldn't be moving the water pump. So now it's time to loosen it up, since I already lined up the pins and I already tightened it when putting it in. because like I said, you're not gonna able to put them in with the pins, so you have to put it without the pins and then guide them in the hole. I'm gonna loosen the fan clutch, so you just put tension right here and use the breaker bar until you loosen the fan. Okay, now I just loosen it. It was very hard to take it out since it's an old vehicle, but I managed to loosen it out. I loosen it out counterclockwise. In order to tighten it, when you put it back in, is clockwise. Okay, now we're gonna loosen the drain from the radiator. It could be hard, so you might need some pliers. And get ready with the recovery tank, so it could start dripping out. You don't have to loosen it all completely, just a little bit. To speed things up, we have to remove the radiator cap. Like that, press it down, and it'll start going more quicker. See? Starts dripping more, draining more quicker. So just let it drip out until before removing this hose, because it's gonna get messy. So we just have to wait until it drips completely off, and then we'll move the fan shroud, and then we remove the fan, because it's hard to take it out without removing this. I decided to loosen the upper hose to speed things up more quicker, so the antifreeze could go more lower on the radiator. So now it's time to loosen the fan shroud with a 13mm socket. Just loosen it up, and it has like 2 clips on the back and the bottom, so you just slide it out. There's no bolts on the bottom, you just slide it out. Now I loosen the fan shroud and the fan clutch all together without damaging the radiator. There we go, it's already out. So first, right now, we're gonna install the new fan clutch before we remove the water pump. So let's do that first. Okay, now that we're losing the fan clutch and the fan, there might be a slight difference of the design of the fan clutch, but because this is stock and this is aftermarket, as long as everything lines up, this is same size, 4 bolts. So we're gonna loosen the fan and put it on this new fan clutch. Since the bolts are rusted and it's hard to take out, I'm gonna put a little bit of penetrating oil. Usually I like to use WD-40, so we could loosen it. I decided to use a 1/2 inch drive and use the 13mm socket to loosen it, since it's too hard to loosen it. See, it takes out easily. They're already loosened, so now it's the time to put this fan onto the new fan clutch. We already loosened the bolts, so now it's hard to take out, so you have to bang it with a rubber mallet, so it comes out like that, and then you put it onto the new one right here. Make sure the holes lined up, and tighten it with a 13mm socket. It's fully seated. You press it down, make sure that the holes lined up, and press it down so it could go right here. around this, and then tighten it already. You're ready to tighten it. Okay, you finger tighten all four, and then you just tighten it with a 13mm socket as much as you can. Don't over tighten it. I'm gonna tighten it cross pattern. Tighten it like this, like that, and then like this, and then like that. Tighten it as much as you can. Don't over tighten it, like I said. And we're getting ready now to remove the water pump. Okay, now we're gonna put the 3/8 ratchet on the second slot. And then this thing, the tensioner, has to move this way so you could loosen the belt. We might need a pipe so we could put more leverage. Okay, I'm gonna use a pipe, like a metal pipe will do, to put more tension. And remove the belt. Before you remove the belt, always take a picture before so you can know how to put it back. I already took in a picture, so I already know how everything goes. Then you release the tensioner back. Always inspect the belt if it's not cracked or any torn parts. So this one looks pretty decent, like it's not bad. So I believe next time I'll change it, but not for the moment. I'd rather just change the water pump right now, since the belt it's okay, it's in good shape. So on to changing the water pump. Okay, this is an example of a bad water pump. Look at how it moves. It has play. Not only that, it also has metal grindings, as you can see right there. Some metal grindings. So the water pump needs to be replaced. And also, you can see down there, right there, right there, there's a leak. It's a major leak under the bottom of the water pump. So this has to be replaced. And now we're gonna loosen the tensioner with a 15mm socket counterclockwise. It might be hard, so you might also need a pipe on this one, but I managed to loosen it, so it's only one bolt. You also have to loosen these. I think they're called the idler pulley. As you can see, I already removed it. This thing has to be right here. The other thing like right here. You put it on back. Just put it right here back, and with a bolt. So that's how you take it out. You're gonna loosen the two idler pulleys, the first one and the second one, with a 13mm socket. This one wasn't too hard to loosen. Neither this one. I believe if you mix them up, I don't think there's a difference. I think they're the same size. We'll check it out right now, in case you put one wrong. Well, you could number them with whiteout if you want. Well, I don't think it makes a difference. I don't think so. They look exactly the same. Yeah, exactly the same. So it doesn't matter which side you put it on, so you don't have to worry about that. And also make sure you don't drop the washers. They go right here, so be careful not to drop them. They go behind the bolt right here, so just put them right there so you won't lose them. Okay, I already loosened the hose clamp on the lower hose, and you also have to loosen this one, so make sure to mark it well because it could mix you up when you put back the water pump. So I mark it with white out line number 1 and line number 2, so you won't get things mixed up where everything goes. So we're just gonna lose this one and this one and this one, and then we're gonna start removing all the bolts. So I ended up losing this water hose, the lower hose. You just put a screwdriver right here in the edge and loosen it around, and then you just go on the bottom and pull it down, and just get ready because it's gonna start dripping out of antifreeze. So just get a bucket ready or a container. So now I'm gonna loosen this one and this one. With a plier, you just move it around right there. So basically what I did, I just went around it with a flat screwdriver until I loosen it out. So now I'm just gonna have to wiggle it until it comes out. And like I said, get ready for the bucket. So I'm gonna do the same thing to this one. Be careful with this cable behind it, so you don't want to damage it. So after I loosen this hose, the same thing as I did right here, just putting the screwdriver around. You just pull them and that's it. As long as this clamp is not grabbing it from here. So now it's time to loosen all these bolts. Right here, right here, right here, and around here. So I'm gonna get ready to loosen every bolt. And make sure to put them where it goes. I'll show you right now in a bit. So right now I'm losing this bracket. These four bolts, they're all 13 millimeter socket. So I'm gonna remove this bracket first. It looks kind of like a dog bone, so this is the first thing I'm removing. Okay, I already taken the thermostat hose, so now it's time to remove the thermostat so I could reach on these bolts because it doesn't let me go in the way. Now I loosen the thermostat, so I'm inspecting it. Since I changed it like a while ago, I'm just gonna put it back in this little hole right here, right there, this little hole, the one on the top right there. You put it right here, and to tighten it, it's a 13 millimeter socket, and you tighten the bolts as much as you can. Make sure the seal is perfectly seated. So on this one, you have to use the swivel because it's touching the power steering pump. So you have to use a swivel to loosen it. You might need a pipe for the ratchet so you could loosen it because it's gonna be hard to remove. In order to loosen this bolt, since it's long, it's gonna be hitting on the power steering, so you have to loosen it. There's three bolts, one right here, one on the side, and one on the bottom. In order to take out this long one. Okay, you're gonna be struggling right here with the 13 millimeters. They're all 13 millimeter because the power steering gets in the way. So you have to loosen the 3 bolts on the power steering. There's one right here in the top and one in the side and one in the bottom. Just loosen it a little bit. You don't have to loosen it a lot until you free this big one right here that goes in this hole. So basically on this side, you have to be using this and and extensions on the swivels because it's hard to get in. So I removed the thermostat so I could reach more better around here. So now I'm gonna be losing this one and this one. They're all 13 millimeters, so I'm gonna loosen this one and this one. And we're almost there to almost remove it. So okay, you have to be careful when losing it because they're kind of hard. You don't want to break them. So I always use a 3/8. Never use a 1/2 inch or you'll break up the bolt. So it's always good to use 3/8 drive and extension so you could remove it. These bolts are quite long, as you can see right here, and then this one, they're very long. So these go right here, and the one goes on the top and the other one comes from the bottom. So you have to be careful when removing it because some of them, they're different sizes on the water pump, so be careful. Now I'm loosening the bolts from behind the tensioner. Is this one on the bottom and one right here. You can see the curve right here, so you can't really miss it. Just be careful, do not smash your fingers. Just go slowly, take your time, do not rush. I'm gonna loosen that one, then I'm gonna loosen this one right now, so not to be pressuring. Make sure the socket's perfectly in, counterclockwise, all bolts. Okay, now we're gonna loosen this one and this one. This is a 15. This is the only different one out of all of them. So this is a 15 millimeter. So you loosen it counterclockwise. Already loosen it. A big bolt. There you go. This one comes from the bracket, the one I showed you in the beginning when removing it. So it's only this one that is a different size. This is a 15 millimeter, and the other one is gonna be a 13. Okay, now I loosen the middle one. There's a 13 millimeter right here in the middle between these three, the bottom. So now I'm gonna loosen this one. This one is a little bit tricky because you have to get it sideways because the AC compressor, it's getting in the way. So try to get it as much as close as you can and then try to loosen it. As you can see right there, I got it done. A little loosening, so watch your fist because you could scrape yourself. So yeah, I don't know if they did this very hard, a little bit, because of the AC compressor, but I managed to loosen it. So I believe this is the last bolt. I already removed everything. Okay, now it's time to loosen the water pump. So be careful not to hit the radiator. Sure to just take your time. Take it away from the radiator so you won't smash it. You see the metal grinding? Has a lot of metal grinding inside. All those flakes. And the seal, it's already done. As you could see. That's why it was leaking and it was making a horrible sound. There's metal grinding, metal flakes. So this water pump is done. Okay, now we remove the water pump. We're gonna match it. The only difference I realized, the original one has like a small hole and this one has a bigger hole because this is aftermarket and this is stock. So in total, I counted the whole bolts. It's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 bolts in total. And I also dry right here in the cardboard and drill some holes so I could hold the bolts in place so I could know which one because they're all different size, as you could see. I put lower hose. So now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna put this used water pump right here and set the hose on, and I'm gonna put one by one inside the truck, on all these bolts. Now I remove the bolts out of the new one and put it onto the used one. So now I'm gonna install the gasket on this one, on the new water pump, the new gasket, and then we're gonna start putting one by one all these 11 bolts. Also, I forgot to mention that right now I'm gonna start cleaning where the water pump seal came off. So you're gonna need a like a box cutter and brake parts cleaner, so it could dry quicker, and then to wipe it off, a piece of cloth. Okay, now I'm gonna remove the old gasket carefully. You have to clean it as much as you can. Some things are not gonna able to take off, so take out as much as you can. Okay, now I already cleaned it as much as I can. So I'm gonna put a little bit of brake fluid to clean it out. The used gasket, I also forgot to mention, when you remove the water pump, make sure you have a container under, because it's gonna start dripping still a lot of more antifreeze. Okay, now we're gonna install the new gasket on on the new water pump. So you just have to figure it out, like take your time. It's kind of like a puzzle. These little things have to go inside. So you just have to take your time, make sure it goes in. Okay, now I made sure, double check that everything's well seated, the seal from the water pump. So now it's time to install it back, the bolts, and then the fan clutch and everything else. So I already finger tightened this 15 millimeter, finger tighten it. I didn't tighten it because I still had to put the other bolts. So one by one, I'm gonna start putting the bolts. I'm gonna start from the passenger side to install 4 bolts. Okay, now I finger tighten this one. I'm not gonna use the ratchet right now because I still have to install the other bolts, so it has to be moving so it could move around. You have to line up all the bolts, all the 11 bolts. So I'm gonna start from the passenger side. I'm gonna install the 4 bolts on the passenger side. Okay, now I tighten the 4 bolts. I finger tighten them one by one. Right here, and one right here, and one right here. So it's 4 bolts in total. And this one right here, from this side is the last one. So I already finger tighten all 4. Okay, now I'm tightening this one, the tricky one. Make sure you guide it by holding the thermostat right here, the thermostat housing right here, and push it a little bit up if it's not lining up. But this one I managed to line it up. So if you're struggling, managed to line it up, and you should see right here that it's lining up right there in that gap. So now that I put each one of them step by step, one by one, now we already finger tighten it. So now I'm gonna tighten it with a ratchet, the 13 millimeters and one 15 millimeters. By doing this, you have to do star pattern, one right here, then right here, this one, and this one, and then this one, and this one, and then this one, and this one. You get the idea, kind of like how to do it. So you just have to do it star pattern. So it won't be, so you won't take this one first, the top, and then it will be like that, and then the other one doesn't line up that well. Or if you tighten the bottom one, it wouldn't line up that well. So it's better to do a star pattern so you could put pressure on the middle. Okay, I already tightened all the bolts, so don't forget to tighten the bottom one. And And then you should tighten the power steering. This is the bottom bolt I was talking to you about. The bottom, and there's another one on the side and one on the top. In order to put in the ratchet, you need a little extension or extension, and you could put it through the holes. You just have to line it up so you could tighten the bolts right here. So you could like move it and tighten everything. All the 3 bolts, one on the bottom and one on the side. Okay, now I already finished tightening the power steering. Now it's time to install the thermostat. This little thing right here, this one goes up. It doesn't go down or no other way. It needs to go up. So we're gonna install it already right here. It's also 13 millimeter, just like the power steering and the other bolts from the water pump. There's basically 2 bolts that hold it in place. I already replaced it a couple months ago, so there's no need, as long as it's not cracked the seal from the thermostat. Okay, now I'm gonna tighten all the water pump bolts at 18 foot-pounds. I don't have to do start pattern no more since I already tightened it start pattern with the ratchet. So now I'm just gonna do it random or around it. Tighten each bolt. Okay, now I tighten the clamps. You just get this, then you clamp it in place. You put it on both sides. Remember, it's number 2 and number 1. It kind of got deleted, but I already know this one is number 2 and this is number 1. I already installed with a flat screwdriver the lower hose, and I already tightened the drain bolt, this one right here on the radiator. So now it's time to install the 2 pulleys right here and the tensioner. Okay, this is the 2 pulleys, so be careful not to drop be careful not dropping the 2 washers. They go right here, and you're gonna put them right here. So careful not dropping the washers. I'm gonna put them on these 2. Okay, now I'm gonna install the tensioner. This one goes on the hole right here, and this big one goes right here. And this is a 15 millimeter bolt, so you just put it right here. So this is the thing that makes it stop from moving. Okay, now I already tightened the pulleys and the editor pulleys, 15, and the 2 of them 13 millimeters. Now it's time to remove the cap right here from the fan. Don't forget to remove it, because the fan is gonna come here, the fan clutch. Don't forget to install the bracket right there, and put on the nuts. After tightening everything around here, the water pump, the pulleys, now I'm gonna install the hose to the thermostat and to the radiator. Okay, now I'm gonna install the serpentine belt. You just pull the tensioner and make sure it lines up on all the grooves. Okay, now it's all in the grooves on top of the alternators. That was the last step you have to put it, and then release the tensioner. Then you release. Okay, now we install the fan shroud, the plastic one. So you have to guide it on the threads now, the fan, slowly, clockwise. So just keep on spinning until it goes completely in, and then we'll tighten it right now. So right now you just have to be spinning it and guiding it. Make sure that it goes in correctly, not crooked. So just keep spinning it. Keep spinning the fan and make sure everything goes well. Okay, now I'm gonna tighten the belt. The fan. get the 36mm crow foot. I know it's not enough space, but you have to tighten it and hold this fan clutch remover tool so it won't move. Now I'm gonna install the hose, the upper hose. It's already in. So make sure you keep these easily, don't over tighten it. Keep these like that they're not hidden, because then you're gonna have troubles to loosen it up. So keep it, don't keep it this way, or keep it up here. Tighten it or loosen it. Okay, now we're gonna install the cabin air filter. There's a hole down here, so this thing gets heated down here, and line up the bolts also. But first you have to clip it right there, and then you get your bolts. Make sure the bolts lined up. There are 13mm socket to tighten it. And then you just start putting everything in. This one right here. This one right here. And this one you just clip it right here. Right there. Just keep on tightening these bolts and tighten this one. And that should be it. Okay, now that we install everything, we tighten the hoses, we tighten the water pump, the fan clutch. Now it's time to fill it up. Always do it sideways so you won't be dripping. Okay, now we're gonna add the last antifreeze, so you have to move it to the heater and turn it full blast, so it could like start bubbling. Once you see it, the antifreeze go away, add some more antifreeze or water, whatever is your preference. So I put the heater all the way up and just wait until it just goes down, the level goes down, and then add some more. Okay, now it's bubbling, so you just have to wait until the antifreeze goes all the way down, and then add some more, because it hasn't reached the right temperature. Until the thermostat starts to open, the antifreeze will go down, and you have to add some more since you turned on the heater. So you just have to wait. Okay, after changing the water pump, the temperature remained at our normal temperature. It didn't went up. There's no light, no check engine light, so it means I did a good job. Everything turned out great with the fan clutch. There's no noise, no overheating. So it means I did a good job.